Hey everyone, what's up? GleeCon here again. Another episode of Warcraft. Thanks for tuning in, guys. All right, on the last one we wrapped up completely Western Plaguelands. We've done pretty much every single quest in that zone, minus a couple that I talked about related to Argent Dawn and revered, exalted levels. And we are now continuing our reading of the novelization of the Warcraft movie. We've read that prologue in chapter 1 so far, where we have seen Duraton covered extensively in the other novelization universe book, appearing in the Horde base camp with his Frostwolves, and they see that they're about to go through a portal. So stay a while and listen as we take chapter 2 of this novel into our hands. Darkness had fallen by the time Orgrim and Duraton returned. Under Draka's direction, the clan had been busy erecting their makeshift traveling tents. Frostwolf banners, depicting the clan's symbol of a white wolf on a blue background, hung limp in the still dry air outside each one. Duraton looked around at the veritable sea of structures, not just theirs, but those of other clans as well. They too had banners that looked as worn out as Duraton felt. Abruptly the banners stirred, and the faint breeze carried the welcome scent of roasting meat to Duraton's nostrils. He clapped Orgrim on the back. "Whatever betides us on the morrow, we have food tonight. My belly will be grateful," Orgrim replied. "When was the last time we ate something larger than a hare?" "I cannot remember," Duraton said, sobering almost at once. Game had been almost scarcer on the journey than it had been in the frozen north. Most of their meat sources were small rodents. He thought about Talbooks, the delicate but fierce gazelle-like creatures, and the huge cleft hoofs, which were more than a challenge to kill but once fed the clan well. He wondered what sort of beasts Gul'dan had found here in the desert and decided he did not wish to know. They were greeted with the welcome sound of laughter as they approached the Frostwolf camp. Duraton strode forward to find Draka, Gia, and Drekthar sitting around one of the fires. Together with Orgrim Doomhammer, these three comprised Duraton's council of advisors. They had always given him sound advice, but Duraton felt resentment stir as he recalled Blackhand's orders. If the tattooed orc commander had his way, everyone except Orgrim would be forced to remain behind. Other families clustered over similar small fires. Children drowsed nearby exhausted, but Duraton saw that their bellies were rounded with food for the first time in months, and he was glad. In the center of the fire were several spits of smaller animals. He gave Orgrim a rueful look. It would seem that they were still to feed on animals no larger than the size of their fists, but it was meat, and it was fresh, and Duraton would not complain. Draka handed him a spit from the fire, and Duraton tore into it. It was still hot, and his mouth burned, but he didn't care. He hadn't realized just how long it had been since he had eaten fresh meat. The first edge of his hunger had been blunted. Duraton told them that what he and Orgrim had witnessed and what Blackhand had told them. For a moment there was silence. "Who will you take?" Drekthar asked quietly. Orgrim looked away at the question. His expression told Duraton that his friend was relieved that he was not chieftain and thus not forced to deliver the bad news. Duraton spoke the list he had been composing in his mind since he and Orgrim had left their meeting with Blackhand. Draka, Gia, and Drekthar were not on it. There was a lengthy silence. Finally Gia spoke. "I will not argue your decision, my chieftain," she said. "For my part, I will stay behind. When Drekthar and I were visited by the spirit of life, he told me that I would need to stay with the clan. Now I understand what it meant. I am a shaman, and I fight well, but there are others who are younger, stronger, and faster than I. And I am the lore keeper. Spirits guard you, but if this vanguard should fall, at least the history of our people will be kept alive." He smiled at her gratefully. She sounded resigned, but he knew how badly she wanted to fight at her son's side. "Thank you. You know I will come for all of you as soon as it is safe." "I understand as well," Draka said, sorrow tinging his voice. He gestured to the cloth he always wore to hide his ruined eyes. "I am blind and old. I would be a liability." "No," said Draka, her voice hard. "My heart reconsidered taking Drekthar.
He is a shaman, and the spirits told us they would be there. In this world we are about to enter, as long as there is earth, air, water, and life, you will need a shaman. Drekthar is the best we have. He is a healer, and, she added, you may need his visions.
A chill ran along Duratan's skin, lifting the hairs on his arm. More than once Drekthar's visions had saved lives. Once a warning from the spirit of fire had spared the entire clan. How could he not bring Drekthar?
You will not fight with us, he said. Only heal and advise. Have I your word? Always, my chieftain. It will be honor enough to go.
Duratan looked at Draka.
I know my heart that you can fight, but...
He broke off, rising to his feet, one hand going to Sever's hilt. The visitor was almost as large as Blackhand. The firelight cast shadows on a physique as sculpted as if it had been chiseled from stone. Blackhand had impressed him, but this orc was, if not as large, more muscled, more powerful looking. Like Blackhand, he too wore tattoos, but whereas the commander's hands had been inked solid black, it was this orc's jaw that was dark as midnight. His long black hair was pulled back in a top knot, and his eyes glittered in the fire's glow.
I am Grom Hellscream, chieftain of the war song,
the orc announced, his eyes sweeping the newcomers.
Blackhand told me that at long last the Frostwolves had come.
He grunted in amusement and dropped a sack of something at Duratan's feet.
Food,
he said. The bag twitched and moved, bulging out here and there.
Insects,
Grom said.
Best eaten live and raw,
he grinned.
Or dried and ground into flour. The taste is not bad. I am Duratan, son of Garad, son of Durkosh,
Duratan said.
Grom Hellscream, chieftain of the war song, is welcome at our fire.
Duratan decided not to introduce the other members of the clan assembled around the fire, as he did not want to draw undue attention to them, not if he planned to take Drekthar with him at sunrise. He caught Draka's eye, and she nodded. She rose, quietly touching Drekthar and Gia on the shoulder, and taking them to another fire. Duratan indicated the vacant seats, and Grom dropped down beside him in Orgrim. He accepted a spit from the embers and bit into the dripping meat with gusto.
Though you and I have never met,
Duratan said,
some members of your clan once hunted alongside mine years past. I remember that our clan members said the Frostwolves were good hunters and fair,
Grom acknowledged.
If perhaps a bit too...
He groped for the word.
Reserved.
Duratan refrained from telling Grom what the Frostwolves had thought of the war song. The words impulsive, loud, fierce, and crazy had been used. Sometimes admittedly with admiration, but not always. Instead he said,
seems as though Gul'dan has managed to unite all the clans now.
Grom nodded.
You were the last to join, he said. There was one other, but they are gone now, so Gul'dan says.
The Frostwolves shifted uneasily. Duratan wondered if Grom spoke of the Red Walkers. If in truth the clan was dead down to the last member, it was a good thing, and he would not mourn.
We,
Grom said with pride,
were among the first. When Gul'dan came to us and told us he knew of a way to travel to another land, one rich in game and clean water and enemies to battle, we agreed right away.
He laughed.
What more could an orc want? My second-in-command, Orgrim, and I met with Blackhand upon our arrival,
Duratan said.
He told me of his plans to take a wave of warriors to this land first. He spoke of weapons and those who wield him. But I am curious as to Gul'dan's preparations.
Grom took another bite, finishing off the meat. He tossed the stick into the fire.
Gul'dan has found a way for us to enter another land,
Grom said.
An ancient artifact long hidden in the earth. His magics led him to it, and when we arrived here, we began to dig. We have unearthed it at last, and tomorrow we will use it.
Duratan's brows rose.
A hole in the ground. You'll see it soon enough,
Grom assured him. The more Duratan learned of these plans, the less he liked them.
Sounds like a grave. No,
Grom assured him.
If anything, it is a rebirth for our people. It's the path to a new world. You believe this? You believe this?
Orgrim asked. He sounded more skeptical than hopeful. Grom eyed Orgrim for a moment, then he lifted one powerful arm and leaned forward, extending it closer to the fire. In the firelight, Duratan saw what the shadows had obscured earlier, Like many of those he and Orgrim had seen training, Grom Hellscream's skin was tinged with green, and when he spoke, his words were addressed to Orgrim, not Duraton.
I believe in Gul'dan. I believe in the Fel. His death magic has made me powerful.
He flexed his arm, and his bicep, large as a melon, bulged.
You'll see. You'll feel the strength of 5.
Blackhand seems strong enough without it, Duraton said bluntly. Grom's bright eyes darted to the Frostwolf chieftain.
Why be strong when there is stronger still?
His lip curled away from his tusks in a grin that was as sinister as it was savage, and Duraton could not but wonder if stronger still would ever become strong enough to appease the war song. By the time Duraton retired to his tent, Draka was stretched out asleep on the furs they had brought from the north. Once she would have rested on a pile of thick, warm cleft-hoof skins, and her hut would have been the chieftain's hut, a solid, stable construct of timber and stone. She would have had plenty of good, healthy food to nourish the body, housing not only her warrior's spirit, but the small life that now curved in her belly, the only soft part of her strong, hard physique. Now all that separated her flesh from the hard rock was rabbit fur, and the clan had walked the last several leagues with no food at all. Gia had insisted Duraton and Draka take what they could from Frostfire Ridge to remind them of the clan's heritage. So this makeshift shelter, a bit more solid than most, contained the Frostwolf crest and decorative wards constructed and blessed by the shaman to augment battle prowess and ward off dangers. Inside, a variety of weapons lay within easy reach: spears, axes, hammers, maces, bows and arrows, swords, and of course, Thunderstrike. Duraton unfastened Sever and placed it beside the furs as he sat and regarded his mate. A wave of tenderness washed over him as his gaze roved over her body, from her fierce, strong face and long black hair to the swell of her belly as she lay on her side, breathing evenly. Her lids still closed, she reached out a hand to him.
I can feel your eyes.
Draka's voice was low and throaty, warm with affection and amusement.
I thought you were asleep.
I was. She shifted her swollen body to lie on her back, searching unsuccessfully for a comfortable position. Her husband's hand moved to her belly, his massive fingers and palm almost completely covering it, silently connecting with his child.
Dreaming of a hunt through the snow.
Duraton closed his eyes and sighed. It was almost painful to recall the sharp, familiar bite of the winter, the cold challenging their bodies as they attacked prey that fought to survive, the shouts, the smell of fresh blood, the taste of nourishing flesh. Those years had been good ones. Duraton stretched beside her on the furs, recalling the first night Draka had returned from her exile. He had pushed her for stories of her travels, and they had lain beside one another as they did now, their backs, but not touching, looking up at the stars, watching the smoke rise up, and he had been content.
I thought of a name,
Draka continued. Duraton grunted. He was angry with himself for his nostalgia, where Draka's dream was just that, a true, honest dream, not wistful, deliberate recollection. The time he yearned for, was gone, never to return. He took her hand in his as he teased.
Will you keep it to yourself, wife? I'll choose the name when I've met him. Or her.
Oh, there was amusement in her voice.
And how will the great Duraton name his son if I do not travel with him?
A son. He propped himself on an elbow, regarding her, his mouth slightly open. Always before he had accepted that he might have a daughter or a son. The gender was less important to him than ensuring that the baby was healthy. Frostwolf females were fierce warriors. Draka was a perfect example of that. Tradition, though, held that the chieftainship could only pass to a male. He blinked at her.
Are you having visions like Drekthar now?
She smiled and shrugged.
I just feel it.
He thought again of that first night and all the others they had shared with one another since. He did not want to think of a long stretch of nights when they would be without each other. Did not want to think of his son being born without his father present.
Can you hide your fat belly?
He said, grinning in anticipation of her retort. Draka, who knew him all the way to his bones, punched him in the shoulder lovingly but quite firmly.
Better than you can hide your fat head.
Hearty laughter burst from him, a balm to his spirit, and his wife laughed with him. Again they lay back together, Duraton's hand once more protectively over their son. They would face this new world together, whatever happened. All right, when we read the dialogue lines, those pretty much lines again, second chapter in a row, where we found lines verbatim. There was a scene, it probably lasted 4 or 5 lines out of the whole script thing that we read, but it was obviously this night before they leave, Draka lying with his pregnant wife situation. So this novel is following the book pretty well. And we've met Grom Hellscream now, and we have told the other Frostwolves essentially who the landing party will be. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching, listening, and tuning in. This one's in the pipes 5x5.